So glad you're with us on The Outcome is Income. Brad Johansen with Chance Robinson. Strong Point Financial. How are you, my friend? How's life in Florida?
Always good. Sunny. We survived our winter this year. It's about 3 weeks this time.
Man, winter was long in other places other than Florida. But
you know what? It was a long winter for us. Usually we don't have that many consecutive cold days. We had like 3 weeks of solid consecutive cold days. We don't get that. We'll get 2 and then a nice day of 70s and then another 2 or 3.
See, the seasons change.
We got snow in Florida.
Us right into where we're going here, because a lot of people were worried about the season of change as we moved into election. If my guy gets in, I'm good. If my gal gets in, I'm good. Well, the guy gets in, and now everybody's wondering what's going on because, let's be honest, Chance, things are changing with this administration on the daily.
Oh, rapidly.
And that is making people wonder exactly how their financial plan sits with this. Give me an overview. Give me that 10,000-foot view of where we sit right now, and should we be worried moving forward as to whether our plan's going to take us into retirement the way we need to be?
Well, the biggest thing that you're kind of keying in on there is actually having a plan.
Yeah, there you go.
This part of what's going on economically and politically and everything right now is almost like refreshing for somebody like myself. This is the exciting time of my job and lets me know like I'm still passionate about what happens here. You know, for me, the mundane day-to-day task of, you know, just do this over and over and over is never that in this industry. There's always changes and things going on. And it's like renewed excitement for me because I'm like, oh, this is changing and this law is changing and this strategy is going away, but they're adding this strategy. So it's like I get to kind of sit down and put this puzzle together that doesn't have a picture and just show how the pieces fit.
All right. Give me an idea, because we always talk about pain points for a lot of people and what I should be worried about. And my worry is different than your worry. If you're talking about legislative risk, let's start there. Should we be worried about legislative risk at this point with the amount of changes that we're looking at?
You know, it's not so much about being worried as it is about having a plan for, you know, for the what ifs. You know, the whole situation, regardless of the outcome of politics and economics, like, these things are out of our control a lot of times. Yes, you know, we can vote, but our vote may not be the vote that wins. And whatever the outcome is, what we can control is how we plan to handle those changes and what things are on the brink or on the horizon of changing. Right now, we've got tax changes. We've got tariff situations. You've got policy changes from, you know, different capabilities of implementing certain strategies. So there's a lot of change and turmoil and uncertainty going on right now. But having a plan to control what you can control is always the best advice. It's like, okay, as an advisor, I sit down and plan out all the what ifs anyway. So it's like, what if inflation rate changes? What if the tax rate changes? What if, you know, there's a disability? What if there's the market crashes? What, you know, there's all of these things that interconnect and really make a difference or an impact to our outcome in retirement, especially, that we have to plan for. So having the plan and controlling what I can control is the most important aspect of it all.
Is market volatility then, because I asked about legislative risk, and market volatility going into this, because with the amount of changes, most people in the accumulation phase are, I'm all in on the market. The market's good.
Yeah.
And the market's had quite a run.
Yeah.
So if we've got something good going, why do we get off something good? I'm not going to change it if it doesn't. And yet market volatility right now, we don't know when it's going to hit.
Correct.
That's kind of part of what you said. If you have a plan, that's a what if thing that you have to be taking care of right now.
I mean, when you think about market volatility, what you're really saying is that, like you referenced, is I'm in that accumulation phase and I really have to pay attention to market volatility at that point. But my advice has always been, the closer you get to retirement or the closer you get to relying on that money to maintain your lifestyle, the less risk you need to be taking with it anyway. So when I'm allocated properly, market volatility doesn't start to affect me as much if I am allocated properly and I say, hey, like, I'm not taking a risk with this pot of money because I need to have this to make sure I maintain my lifestyle. This has got to be my preservation, not my accumulation. It's more about keeping what you got.
Okay, you say this pot of money, that probably takes you into the plan kind of thing. This is my pot of money.
Yeah.
I got it in the market.
Yeah.
I'm working it one way. You're saying that we need to start segregating where we go and telling our money what to do.
Absolutely. I mean, so many times people come into me and, I'll ask them, do they have a plan? Like, where's your plan for retirement? When you sit back and kind of say, hey, when I'm ready to hang up the gloves and I'm done, where's that plan at to say, hey, this is where I should pull money from. This is my tax strategy. This is my income strategy, how I'm going to replace that paycheck. Where is that all of that coming from? And they hand me their statements and they say, hey, this is my plan.
Here's my plan.
And I'll say, okay, well, that's one part of the plan. That's the investment plan aspect. But how do I know which bucket or which account to draw from first? How do I make sure it's not going to hurt me from a Medicare standpoint or a Social Security standpoint? How do I know that when I should turn that on? And I mean, there's so many intricate details that interconnect, which stresses the point that I'm making here is have a plan. That is the most important aspect of the whole thing.
You're an independent fiduciary advisor. Tell us what that means. And you constantly say, look, we put together a holistic plan.
Right.
Give me an idea what that means, because people may hear these words a lot, but what does it actually mean for what you're doing for folks?
Yeah. So a holistic plan has to be inclusive of all the key areas of planning, right? My planning will break down into 5 different parts. You've got healthcare planning. You've got income planning. You've got investment planning, tax planning, and estate planning. And I'll tell you how these all connect or interconnect. The healthcare planning, like I could make you the best financial plan in the world. A healthcare situation could tear it completely apart. So if I didn't plan for that correctly, I'm really doing myself an injustice from there. Now, once I've got my healthcare and my protection part planning, I've got to make sure that when you retire from work, I want to make sure you retire from work, not retire from your lifestyle. You want to be able to maintain your lifestyle. So where is that income going to come to make sure that I can maintain my lifestyle? Once I have that part figured out, now the investment part. How do I make sure that I'm able to maintain that lifestyle for the rest of my life? And I take into consideration market volatility and political volatility and economic volatility. I'm taking into consideration, just all of the what ifs that could happen. So I'm allocating that property to make sure I'm thinking about inflation and these things. Once I have that, now it's tax strategy. When I am drawing out of that account, am I paying more taxes? Am I paying less taxes? Can I get it from tax-free accounts? Is there ways for me to do that? And when we look at the tax environment that we're in, yes, we got this situation where we think they're going to kick the tax things down the road, the tax cuts that happen. However, this is not the time to take your foot off the gas. Taxes are on sale. You stay taking advantage of that. Once I've got that, now I've got to talk about estate planning. How do I protect it all the way around? So all of these things interconnect. And if I'm not doing one, I'm really giving myself an injustice or, I'm not giving myself the head start that I should.
It's a disservice if you don't do it all together, which
Correct.
is what Chance does constantly. For a lot of us, I think for almost everyone, you'd kind of like to just retire once. You don't want to have to go back and do it again. So if you're doing something for the first time, most of the time we need a little bit of help. Chance has been doing it hundreds of times for people trying to put together a retirement readiness review. It's an insider review that will take you into and through retirement with that 5-step plan that covers everything. It's a holistic plan that gets you ready. Would you like an insider review? I don't know, how much does that cost? It's complimentary. Call the number on your screen, 855-348-3018, to come in to set together that plan. With all of this uncertainty out there, with all of the what ifs, wouldn't you like somebody who's been doing it for so many times that they understand your plans like no one else's? Come in for the insider review, 855-348-3018. We'll be right back.